Hi everyone, Pat here from Scrivener Art and Design. I've been invited this year to do a demo for the Souk Fine Art Show. This year it's a virtual event and I hope you check it out online. There's a lot of fabulous artists here on Vancouver Island and the surrounding Gulf Islands. I'll leave the link in the description below. I'm a multimedia artist and I live in Parksville. I work full-time at my art and I work in acrylic, encaustic, and cold wax and oil. Today I'm going to be doing my demo in cold wax and oil paint, as it's something that people are quite curious about and it's not all that common. I don't want you to confuse it with its cousin encaustic. Encaustic and cold wax both share the same ingredients as far as the beeswax. Cold wax has solvent in it and is not to be heated like encaustic. They also look very different and are very different mediums to work with. So in this demo, I'll be exploring some of the ways you can work with cold wax and oil as a mixed media artist, and I hope you enjoy it. So I'll meet you inside. I'm starting a cold wax and oil painting today on a cradled panel, and I've taped the sides off to keep them clean. I've put a coat of plaster and some gesso on here and a nice absorbent surface to work on. So I like to start by playing and using various things. So I just picked this up, it's hard charcoal. Really needs to be sharpened. I'm going to try this fat woody. So woody is kind of waxy. Just make some marks and some lines. And I have this lump graphite. And let's see, I have a marabou crayon, which is also very waxy, so just put some marks down with that. So at this stage I'm not thinking, I'm just really playing and making lines and marks and scribbles, and sometimes I write words into the painting at the beginning with pencil. They could be my feelings or just what's on my mind. This is a Lyra graphite. It's a little bit different feeling. So you could use colored markers as well, whatever you want. I tend to stick with black and white and then add the color with cold wax. So this is the cold wax, and this is some that I've made, but you can buy commercial cold wax, and it's a mixture of beeswax, solvent, and damar resin. So it stays soft and pliable until it oxidizes with the air, and then it becomes hard. So we mix this 50-50 with oil paint. So I'm just going to put some out on my palette and then we'll get started. I'm using Cad Yellow Deep, Cad Red, lots of mixing white. This is titanium white and some phthalo blue. I'm mixing it with 50% cold wax. As I mix it, you'll see the sheen leave and it becomes quite matte. If your paint is exceptionally oily you can let it sit on a paper towel and leach some of that oil out of it before mixing. I always find that the white tends to be more oily, and I often add a little bit more wax to the white paint. You can also add some Galca gel if you want your paint to have a thicker, if you want your paint to have a harder surface. Here I'm using the Messermeister bowl scraper from the kitchen supply store, and you can see that this yellow paint is very transparent and that the dark marks are showing up even more. I'm going to use a brayer, and when you charge it, you want to go back and forth both ways to get a nice even coat on it. You can see that the paint is optically mixing right on the panel, that the blue mixed with the yellow is making some green areas. I like scratching into my work, and for this I use either a knitting needle or a bamboo skewer. This is a silicone brush by Color Shapers. They come in lots of shapes and sizes, and they clean up really nice and easy. I'm going to lift a little bit of that paint off with a deli sheet. You could also use wax paper. And then I transferred some of it in other areas. So here I'm going to try a little bit of mono printing, so the same technique with a little bit more paint on it. I have an RNF oil stick that I'm going to use. It's in a pewter color. It's a little bit of an iridescent sheen to it. The oil bars are ready to use and have a little bit of linseed oil. You can also collage into your work. I like using tissue paper, but you can use heavier paper as well. Wax is your glue, so you want to make sure that you have a layer of wax or wet oil paint and cold wax down. Now I probably should have put this on a lighter layer, but just so that you know, you can use it. Here I'm using some bubble wrap for texture. Don't get too carried away with this so it looks obvious. Let's add some white in because our values are kind of sitting in the mid-range. This allows me to blend my colors right on the panel, and that's the beauty of having the oil paint. It stays open for a long time and it is very blending, unlike acrylic. Here I'm going to use my fine liner bottle and I'm dropping some solvent on to do a solvent reduction. Give it a minute or so, and now take a scraper and just wipe it back. Your results will be dependent on how tacky your layer of oil and wax was, how long you let the solvent sit there. It's a matter of practicing this technique to get the desired results. I do like turning my work to look at it in different orientations. These are Ranger tools that have little divots in them that can create patterns on your work. This is, I think, a pasta maker and a wire brush, bottle brushes, silicone basting brushes. Supplies from your kitchen are great, and also the thrift stores. I get a lot of supplies at the thrift store. A palette knife is a great way to start putting layers on wet surfaces because you can keep your touch really light. I've mixed up some green paint using my yellow and blue. Just going to blend it in. So it's just a matter of adding and subtracting, building up layers. Continuing to make marks into the work. Always looking at your values to see if you have a nice combination of darks to lights is really important. As I move along more in the process, I start to look for areas to eliminate. Edit out things that are no longer desirable. But at this point, I'm still playing and adding, making marks. So we can work wet into wet for a while, and then it gets pretty easy to start creating mud and getting overly blended. So that's when I like to let it dry overnight and come back in with fresh eyes and a drier surface so I can continue working without getting it murky. The coral was made with the red, yellow, and white. By using a limited palette, you can be certain that everything works in harmony. Again, turning the painting in different directions just to get feedback to see what you might want to do. At this point, I don't know which way the painting will hang. I'm going to try adding some gold leaf. These are just the little bits that you can buy in an assorted bag. They're relatively inexpensive and there's lots of colors in there. The adhesive for gold leaf won't work on cold wax. You have to actually use the cold wax itself as the adhesive or put it on when your paint is still wet. Now usually I like to add this in at the very end as a focal point or a little bit of extra, but I just want you to know that it's something that's possible. So we've covered a lot of different ways that you can work with cold wax and oil, and this is just really the tip of the iceberg. There are so many things that you can do, and I've been exploring this really deeply all year and trying a lot of different things. I've been painting a painting almost daily in cold wax and oil, so yeah, I've painted a lot of paintings with this medium over the last few years. This green is mixed with a different yellow and blue. I just couldn't get a bright enough green, so I've used some Hansa yellow and cerulean blue to get a brighter green color. Here you can see I've done a little bit more to it off camera, but it's still not resolved. Well, I hope you enjoyed that, and it gave you a peek into my process and the diversity of this wonderful medium of cold wax and how you can push oil paint into a place of mixed media. Please check out the show and like and subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed this video. There's lots more videos on cold wax and oil on my channel. I hope you'll check some of them out if you are interested in this medium. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.